It's possible. So at this moment, the recording has started. So I think we can start, Jonas. So welcome everybody in this webinar about AI agents in F&O. This is a webinar together with Jonas and me. We will present everything. And before we will go to the agenda, we will introduce ourselves. So Jonas, will you start?
Yes, my name is Jonas. I'm a principal consultant working for Columbus. I've been a consultancy for a bit more than 6 years, so worked with F&O, various of business, and now I have a passion for AI and what it brings. So that's the reason why I'm a part of this event together with Hylke.
Yes, thanks. My name is Hylke Britstra. I'm a trainer and consultant related to finance and operations. Started with Axapta in 2006, and from that moment I followed the evolution to finance and operations right now. Yeah, I will talk together with Jonas about the AI agents that came in F&O right now. And before we start, I already want to thank Natalia Salas. She is an F&O MVP living in Spain at the moment. And together with her, I did some preparation for the webinar. We talked about each other, about the test results that we saw for specific the account reconciliation agents. And also during this webinar, I'm able to use her environment to show the demonstration where a test set was prepared. So Natalia, thank you that we could work together on this topic and that we are able to share the account reconciliation agent via your demo environment. So let's start with the agenda. Where are we going to talk about today? The first topic is what about AI agents in F&O? So AI agents in common. The second part is how to enable AI agents in F&O. That is something that Jonas will explain. The third part is an example in supply chain management, the supplier communication agent, also being presented by Jonas. And the fourth part of the agenda is the finance agent, account reconciliation agent, and I will explain that part. So that will be the four topics that we are going to discuss during this webinar. And the first part is, what about AI agents in F&O? And I think most of you know Copilot already, the Copilot assistant which responds on demand. That is how I explain it. So if you want an answer on a question, if you want to generate content, if you want to summarize information, you can use the Copilot for it, which means that you as a user can use Copilot as the assistant, as the co-pilot for a task that you want to do, which means that the user is asking and that Copilot will respond on that. When you look to AI agents, they are created to act for a goal without a constant human input. So an AI agent is created to achieve a specific goal, a specific objective, and can work on itself based on all the settings that you gave it. And what you see by an AI agent is that it is many times related to a specific process or a specific task, because it is really made to do an action in a specific process. Like the supplier communication agent that Jonas will present later in this webinar, it is really created in the process of a vendor that responds to a purchase order and makes sure that the response from the vendor will be managed and will be processed in F&O in the purchase order when that's possible. So the agent is really related to that supplier purchase process. When it comes to the account reconciliation agent, it is really related to account reconciliation, reconcile the subledger and the general ledger, and propose actions when there is a difference between them. So where the Copilot assistance is a very common solution where you can do several tasks based on a human question and a human demand that you send into Copilot, AI agents are more created to work on itself, related to a specific process or a specific task. And in some cases, AI agents are also the orchestrator, which means that many agents can work together because they are made for a specific process or a specific task. So you also can have agents that are managing all these agents, what agents need to start, what agent need to perform an action. But also there you see that the orchestrator is really being made for orchestrate the agents, so also a specific process or a specific task, all based on AI. So AI is the key in the agent. It means that based on AI, you can do a process and automation together to perform a task. And if you look to what is happening with finance and operations at the moment, what you see is that we had traditional ERP and where a lot of human work was being done in, for example, F&O and other ERP systems, which means that a lot of data entry was being done by human, a lot of actions were done by human. At this moment, we are in the AI ERP phase, which means that still a lot of actions are done by human, but also some options are being done by Copilot or suggestions are being given by Copilot. But the idea is that more and more it goes to autonomous ERP, which means that for specific processes, AI agents will be involved in F&O, which means that more and more tasks can be done automatically with the help of agents, and that the agents can work together, which means that the idea is, and of course we are not there yet, but the idea is that instead of 80% human work in ERP and 20% automation, it will be moved to 80% automation and 20% human work. Well, we are not there yet, but what you see is that the idea of agent is that more and more agents will come, also in F&O, do tasks autonomously based on the setup and the restrictions that you give. And without going in detail too much in the technique behind the agents, AI is the key in the solution of an agent, but also other automation options are involved. So by many solutions, you also have cloud flows, Power Automate flows being involved, data first, which is involved. So an AI agent is not only AI, the key is AI, but also automations are involved behind it to perform a task. So AI agents are, let's say, specific automations for tasks, processes, where AI is a key to do that automation. And I think when we show the examples in F&O, it will become even more clear about how the AI agent will work. But for that part, it is important that you are able to enable the agents in F&O, and Jonas will explain about that part being related to F&O.
Thank you so much, Hylke. And I will take over, so I hope all of you can see my screen.
Yes.
So enabling these agents, and we have 3 agents if you are counting it as we're doing. We have 2 supplier communication agents, one for the review of emails from vendors and one sending emails to vendors. And then we have the account reconciliation agent. And all of those are actually following very, very close to each other flow in terms of enabling it. If you're talking the sales order agent that has also come up from Microsoft, that's a whole nother story in terms of enabling it. So do not, if you have worked with that, this is very different. So what we start with in terms of enabling these agents is that we have to turn on the immersive home feature in D365 and then the agent management. Afterwards, we have to go into the Power Platform and make sure the Copilot is enabled, the Power Platform integration is set up for the environment, all of that basic stuff. And then we have a billing schedule that we need to configure in the Power Platform for actually managing cost when we are running with these agents. After that, we are updating the apps in the Power Platform, so we have the newest available version of the apps. And then we are coming to actually enabling the agents inside of D365. So we are just then enabling the features in D365. After enabling the features D365, we have to go to the Microsoft 365 admin create a user for these agents, have to add the Copilot license and a supply chain license for F&O or a Power App premium license. Those licenses have to be available, otherwise the agent cannot operate within D365 using Copilot and using the Power Platform Dataverse storage. When this is enabled, we are able to import the users into D365 and then add roles to the users in F&O. Then we are creating some connectors that will connect Dataverse and then also the Copilot. And then it's possible for actually the agents to communicate and doing all the tasks that it has to execute. After that, we have to enable these flows. And Microsoft have made a PowerShell that script that we can actually run. And that one, we only need to change a few parameters in terms of the name of the connectors, the name of the users that should be used to log in. And then we can run the script and we will enable the agents. Then the last part will actually be for two of the agents to go and activate them inside of F&O with the requirements needed. If we're talking the review from vendor, we need to do a bit more here, because here we also need to have a shared mailbox that we can use and then create a queue which will copy the email into Dataverse for the agent to actually work with the emails that it will get. And then it becomes possible for us to go and activate the agent in F&O together with the specific information and email address we would like to add in the configuration. So these are the overall steps for actually enabling these agents. And it sounds very easy when I'm explaining it this way, because I have done it a couple of times, but it can be complicated and it requires a lot of knowledge about the different platforms to actually see what you should do. So it's always good to have a partner on board when you're doing this. When you have enabled the agents and the features and all that stuff, and you go into F&O and you're going to do the activation, it becomes possible to you to go to the agents module inside of F&O, and here you can enable the agents. So you can enable multiple agents for actually doing the confirmation or the delay email sent to the vendors, or you can have different configuration of an agent that will actually go and fetch email from an email box, so you can associate it to specific emails that's only for one vendor. So this is possible to configure in F&O. And when this is configured up and running, then the picture on the right side will actually be your point where you can go to the agent. You can see the follow-up emails that you need to send. You can see the answers that you got from vendors that you need to process. You can go to the account reconciliation agent and you can see how you should actually do this reconciliation, what the agent sees, and you'll get the input from here. This is the immersive home that you are using in this picture. If we're jumping to the agents and stating how is these agents and how does they actually work, then let's take the first one, which is the supplier communication agent. Yeah, that's actually true. But if we take those, what are they doing? Then Hylke has mentioned in the architecture, we have one that receives information from a vendor and then use an email and update that into D365 where you have to go and evaluate it. Again, we have one that sends for delayed and unconfirmed purchase orders for vendors where you can send it to your vendor and ask, do you confirm this, or you are delayed here, what is the next date we can receive this item with, and then you can get the confirmation in. What the idea is that it should speed up the process, so it should automate this process, and that's the whole idea. So it's supposed to be like a circle where you're automating a lot of this flows, actually getting confirmation from vendors, updating information from vendors, and that should give you more time to focus on other tasks for procurement. If we are taking the first agent, the follow-up agent in terms of configuration point, here it's possible to actually configure how you would like the emails either to be a draft or be sent directly. It's possible to see if it should be for delayed purchase orders or unconfirmed. You can configure it by vendor or purchase order. You can also configure the tone or the formulation in terms of how should they actually write an email to the vendor. And then again, there are some criteria that you can add in terms of what purchase order should actually go into this filter and you like the agent to reply to. And then you can add a personal company signature to the email when you're doing the configuration. Um, and I'll jump into F&O and show this in just a couple of seconds. How does this actually look in reality? If we take the other one, the review updates from vendors regarding purchase orders. Here, the configuration is a bit more simple. Here you can do it for any vendor, or you can do it for one specific vendor or a selection of vendors that you'll like to actually receive, and then you're configuring an email. This email will be the inbox where you receive updates from this vendor or these vendors. Here it's possible not to do so much configuration, but you can have multiple agents. If you have different emails, if you have different configuration for vendors or something like that you'll like to take in consideration, then you can do it here. Things you should be aware of before I will show a flow of these vendors is that the agent that sends follow-up information to the vendors, for instance, if it's delayed or if it's unconfirmed, is very, very simple. In terms of it doesn't have the high complexity. It's very good and it works very well as it is. But the agent that reviews from the vendor, here you have to be aware of a couple of things. It's very good to actually understand the difference between language. So for instance, if you're writing in English or you in Danish, it's actually pretty good in translating it and getting the right information, subtracting this. So there's not this, it's very good to breach this barrier for language. It's good when there's not too much complexity in the emails that you receive, when it's very clear defined. For instance, if there has to be an item number or a purchase order number, and there has to be some information that are easy to understand for the agent, so it's not too complex in terms of the writing. And then it works with attachment. So it can actually, you can write an email with updates, but you can also add an attachment where it will fetch the information from the attachment and do the update. It doesn't work with change order management on purchase yet. This is something that will come. And then it doesn't do any validation when it receives the email. The validation happens in that moment you press apply. So you have to be aware of that. It's a bit it can suggest updates for instance purchase order lines that are already invoiced. This is something you need to be aware of. So if I jump into F&O and will show you how does this actually look, then I have just prepared it and I have some example for you. This is the follow-up agent, the ones that are actually sending email out to vendors, if for instance, if delayed or if it's unconfirmed. It's very, very simple in terms of how it's actually writing these emails. It's very good. You need to be aware, as I remember, the email address here is fetched from the vendor, not the purchase order. And then when it's sending the email here, it's using the Microsoft Graph. So it's using the standard configuration for emails sending out of your D365 applications. And you have to be aware when you're using it, for instance, when we were testing it, we saw that it was sending emails, but we didn't receive any because we had a spam filter that took all of the emails that we received and then throw them away. So the vendor that you're using this for needs to actually approve this mail and have it on a approved list so that they will receive the updates. In terms of the configuration of the agents, you can see here I have configured 2 of those. If I press edit here, you can see how I formulated the tones and criteria that I set for what to include, how to do it. And I'm looking way back in time here, you can see. And that's actually the follow-up agent. I'm not going to send emails today and show that part, but I prepared a bit more with the updates from vendors for you guys. So what I've done is that I have prepared a simple email here with an attachment that's an update for a purchase order, and I'm going to send that. So now I've presented to my supplier communication agent, and it will pop up into D365 in just a couple of minutes, but I already prepared it. So I've sent it in earlier this day. This is a simple email. What is interesting here is that there is a preview functionality, so you can see what has been written in the email, and you can also see here what did the attachment say that I forwarded with the updates from this vendor. And when you look at what has been changed in the purchase order, so I have suggested here that we'll have a confirmed ship date that will say the 13th of November, and I have changed the quantity. So for one, I have adjusted the quantity up, and for one, I have adjusted the quantity down. And then I have updated the unit price as well. You can see here it was before 21.08. I have changed it to 24. And all of these updates that are coming in here, they are just like thrown in, and then it's a suggestion to updates. Then when I'm pressing apply suggestions, it's asking me if I want to confirm the purchase order. And when I'm doing this, there will prompt one more thing up, that's the confirmation. And then when I press apply, the updates will go in. So now I'm pressing OK. And then it's doing the validation to see if I can really update these things. And if it goes well, it will do the update and the purchase order will change status from approved to actually confirmed. And this information is thrown in. So now it has done it. Then I can press review. This is actually all the emails that you have received and the things that you have posted into D365. And in this case here, I can see that, oh, I have actually confirmed and done these updates through the agent. And I think actually that was pretty much the basic of the agents that I wanted to show you here. Not to take too much time because Hylke also have a lot to show you.
Yes, then I will share my screen again. So give me some time. So yeah, so what you see in the supplier communication agent, it is really related to the process of purchasing, where on the finance part, where I will show the account reconciliation agent, it is really to the process of reconcile subledger versus ledger. And before I go into the presentation of that part, here you see the immersive home, like Jonas mentioned already. From the last version, you already get the request, do you want the immersive home being used if that feature is enabled? So when it comes to what Jonas already explained, you have to enable the agents in F&O and you have to do preparation before you even can start in F&O. But if you want to know what is available in F&O, I will quickly go to the module feature management. And I will zoom in a bit, so I hope that everybody can read. And if I go to the features and I search for contain agent, then you can see that the agent that Jonas just showed is, for example, the supplier communication agent and the send follow-up emails to vendors with supplier communication agent, where I will talk about the account reconciliation agent. So in F&O, there are features for each agent that you can enable if you want to use it. And it's important that before you do that, also the agent management feature will be enabled, because if you enable the agent management feature, and for that the immersive home feature, then you get like the fundament for agents, because the agent management feature will enable the new agents module. And here you will see the option agents or agent activity, where, for example, in the agents, you see all the agents that you have in use or that you can use in the library if you don't use it already. So that means that a new module will be in F&O for all the agents, and the agent activity, like Jonas already showed, is done based on the immersive home, where you can see the information of the agents that you actually use. And in my explanation, I will focus further on the account reconciliation agent. So where is the account reconciliation agent for? It is consequently reconciling the subledgers and the GL. So you already have some reports in F&O that you can run to do some reconciliations, but this agent is continuously checking the subledger and the ledger posting and checking, can I reconcile or do I have any exemptions? At this moment, the account reconciliation agent has a scope for AP, AR, tax, and bank. So in the current situation, it is checking 4 modules, the postings of 4 modules into the general ledger. In the roadmap, later I will show the roadmap that I found from Microsoft. You will see that more modules will come, but at this moment it is working for these 4 modules. It shows you what is reconciled, but also it will flag exceptions. So when a subledger posting is found where no ledger transaction exists, or when a ledger transaction exists without a subledger posting, it will be flagged as an exception. And based on Copilot, it can be that you get a suggestion how to mitigate this difference. So what should you do to solve the difference? And Copilot is in this agent being used for that kind of suggestions and actions. And if you are going to use the agent, you can configure just what Jonas showed for the supplier communication agent, the configuration, what is the tone of the email, what should be checked. The same is for the account reconciliation agent. You can do the setup about what should it check and where. So I go to my agents. Here you see that I have 2 agents enabled, the mitigation suggestions for account reconciliation and the speed up updates in purchase orders. In this case, we are talking about the account reconciliation agent. And if I open it, I can go to edit, and then I can go to the configuration of the agent. And if I click on this configuration, what you will see here are the 4 modules that I mentioned: accounts payable, accounts receivable, bank, and tax. And what you can say is, do I want to reconcile this module in relation to the GL? So in my situation, I enabled all of them. And based on the posting profiles of these modules, the related main accounts are being presented in relation to the legal entities that are reconciled here. So what you see in the configuration is that you can determine what are the subledgers that needs to be checked in relation to the general ledger, and what are the legal entities and the main accounts where I want to do that. So you need to do that configuration to tell the system, do I want to use the agent? To tell what kind of models do I want to check? What main accounts do I want to check from these models in relation to the legal entities where you want to use it? And when that configuration is done, the first time, you need to activate the agent. So in my case, it is already activated. But when you start using the agent, you need to do this setup, and then you activate, and then the agent will start. And what is it doing? Actually, it is consequently looking to subledger postings from the 4 modules that I just showed, the related general ledger postings, and the AI agent will check if a posting is done in both ledgers. So if a posting is in the AP ledger, can I find the related posting in the general ledger for that? So it consequently check, are the subledger and the general ledger equal based on the postings being made? If that is the case, the agent will show the matches, the reconciliation. If it's not the case, the agent will show the differences, the exceptions, and in some cases will propose a solution. What should you do to solve this exception? So think about the agent ID, an agent independently working, autonomously working in F&O. It autonomously checks the subledger and the ledger. It checks if the subledger and the ledger are in line. If that is the case, it will reconcile them and shows that. If it's not the case, it will give you an exception. And the user needs to check the result and only do follow-up actions when needed. So instead of doing the reconciliation all by yourself, the agent will do it, and you as user only do the needed follow-up. And that part will be done, and I will switch to another environment for that. That part will be done in a new workspace in the general ledger module. So I'll open the general ledger module, and then you'll see a new workspace, account reconciliation. And if I open the account reconciliation workspace, you will see the result of the actions that the AI agent already did. So it is opening my account reconciliation workspace now. And what you see is that here the 4 modules are presented that I reconcile via the agent. You also can see that the bank, accounts receivable, and tax module are fully reconciled. They are green, which means there is no difference between the postings in this period for the subledger and the general ledger. But you also can see that in the accounts payable section, the accounts payable module, I have 2 exceptions. That means that here there is a difference found between subledger and ledger, and I have to pay attention to that. You see 2 exceptions. Here on the left, you see the same 2 exceptions and the option to mitigate. What you also see is that I have an addressed exception, which means that I had 3 exceptions in this list and I already solved one of them. So it was an exception, but I have solved it. And I have 4 reconciled transactions, which means that the system also found transactions that were okay. Be aware that in this case, I only see the transactions from November 2025. If I want to see the result from other periods, I need to select a period in the list, confirm with OK, and then I will have to focus in this case on period 8. And be aware, you can only select one period to show in the accounts reconciliation workspace. So if you want to check for multiple periods, it means that you need to switch between the periods because you can only select one of them. And you see that if I click on one of the periods, the other one will be disabled. So this is the result of what the agent so far did. It has done the reconciliation. It gives the result here. And for example, here by accounts payable, I have 2 exceptions. In that case, I can go to mitigate exceptions, and then I will see the postings that are being made and when there is a problem. In this case, I have 2 vouchers, and I make the form a bit smaller. I zoom out. What you see is that in the middle of the screen, you will find the information from the subledger by this posting and from the ledger. So here you will see what did the system found being placed together and what are the values. On the right side, you see the activity, which means that you can see the transaction was found, the reconciliation failed, fix is suggested by the agent. So it is not solved yet, but the agent has a fix suggested that you can do. And what you see here at the top, and I will zoom in on that again to make sure that more people can read it. The suggested action is an explanation about the difference in this case. And the option that Copilot suggests is that I create a journal entry to solve this difference, because it says inside the voucher there is a mismatch, and the agent thinks that I need to post this value to another main account to make sure that the ledger and the subledger will be equal again. But also I can say I want to do one of the other actions, reverse match exceptions, except without change. So where Copilot gives me one of the actions as proposal, I am able to overrule. So what the agent consequently does is checking the subledger and the ledgers, and if there is an exception, it will show the proposal for the solution, how to solve it. Well, if I say create journal entry, in this case, it will not create a journal automatically already. So in this case, I have to tell what is the journal name that I'm going to use for this posting, what will be the main account where the difference will be posted to. And if I would do and continue, the journal is not posted already, it is prepared. So what I will do is, in this case, saying that the posting needs to go to the bank drop in this case. The reason is wrong settlement posting, I confirm. What you see now is that this page will be refreshed at the background. So at this moment, the general journal will be created based on the setting. And now it says that a general journal is created. Please review and post it, which means that from here, I can go to the general journal, but it is not posted already. So at this moment, it will create the general journal. I can go to the lines, I can check it, and I can post it if I want to. If I go back to the account reconciliation workspace, at this moment, I had a voucher mismatch created. I will go to another period, period 8. I have some other exceptions here. If I go to mitigate exceptions, here you see that I have postings in ledger, but not in subledger, postings in subledger, but not in ledger. And here the Copilot has a suggested action that the document is pending transfer to general ledger. So it says the posting is posted in the subledger, but not in the general ledger. So it advises me to check the subledger not being posted in the general ledger form, to check if the subledger posting is still there and I can transfer it to the general ledger, for example. So based on the reason of the difference between sub and general ledger, Copilot can do an action or propose an action, propose a solution that as user you can follow up to mitigate the exception. If you want to do another action, you always are able to. So you are always able to overrule the suggestion that Copilot gives you. So back to this workspace, the account reconciliation workspace is the outcome of the check. And based on the outcome, it can be that there are exceptions, and Copilot will analyze these exceptions and give you a proposal how to solve the exceptions and make sure the subledger and the general ledger will be equal again. In the reconciled transactions form, on the right side, there you will see the outcome of all the green values which are reconciled, or the mitigated exceptions, which means that by reconciled transaction, you can see the subledger where a posting has been made, you can see the voucher, and you can see the main account where the posting went to. So back to the PowerPoint. You consequently have subledger and general ledger postings. The agent consequently checks if they are equal, and based on the outcome in the workspace account reconciliation, you as user can check what is reconciled, where are exceptions, and when you have exceptions, you can do the needed follow-up. And in the follow-up, Copilot can give suggestions how to solve a specific problem. And that is the account reconciliation agent, where you have the dashboard that we just saw, where you have the suggested actions that Copilot can give. And when it comes to the future, about the roadmap, additional support is being expected. So at the top, you can see that fixed asset, project, inventory, and intercompany modules will be added for Reconcile. At this moment, they are not available already, but it means that even more modules will be checked for the subledger and the general ledger postings. Also, some auto postings will come. Proactive voucher reversal. At this moment, you need to reverse by yourself. So even if you click on the reverse button, you go to the voucher transaction and you need to continue the reversal process by yourself. So also the idea is that more voucher reversal actions will come. So what you see at the moment, a lot of the focus goes to reconciling the 4 modules that I presented. That modules will be extended with new modules that also can be reconciled. And also what you see is in the follow-up of exceptions, the idea is that more and more things will be automated with the help of Copilot. And I think with with this explanation, we have seen both the supplier communication agent and also the account reconciliation agent, the first AI agents that came in F&O in the modules. I hope that it gives you at least an introduction about what you can use or what you maybe can use in the near future. And what you see is that important is that if you have the agents available, that they will be enabled via feature management in F&O, and that via the module agents, you can manage the configuration of the agent and also see the agent activity and the things that are related to it. Jonas, do you have anything you want to add so far?
Yes, I think there was one thing that I would have liked to just explain as well is when do you apply these agents? For instance, in the supplier communication agent and the follow-up agent, where do you apply these and where do you actually see that it makes sense to use them? For instance, the follow-up agent, which is not the most expensive, it doesn't consume the most capacity, is very, very good to apply in situation where you have relationship with suppliers that you need to speed up communication, need to be fast. So there could be like a lot of communication here that it could be automated and actually give a very big benefit for the procurement team. However, the supplier communication agent, which is actually importing and reviewing mails from vendors and doing the update, here we are talking about that it could be very good to actually utilize the capability of AI to translate between languages. For instance, if you are in Turkey and you receive something in Chinese or someone else where there is like a big difference in language, it can actually help the procurement team in understanding what is actually suggested in these emails. If, for instance, everything is not running in English. And then again, you should not see it as a replacement for like integration for a EDI integration with vendors, but more see it as you have a more arm's length relationship with your vendors, where they're always using the same standard. They always talk about item numbers. They're always referring to things like this, where they are very clear in what they are stating. This will be a great test for actually using the agents and where you can really get some benefits of the capability. So I think that was the last thing regarding the agent that I had to see. So if there are any questions for me and Hylke, feel free to ask them now.
Yeah, and I think it's good to know that people cannot unmute themselves because of this. Yeah, that's no problem. I thought maybe we have a lot of people, so if people start talking, it can be quite a mess. But it should be that people can use the chat if there are any questions. So I think if people want to ask a question, feel free. In the meantime, I already can say thank you for joining this webinar. We hope that it gives you a good introduction about the first agents and that at least it helps you to start with your own work related to it. So if you have any questions, please ask in the chat, and else for all the people that think we are finished, have a very nice weekend. I will stop the recording in the meantime.
I can see we have one question, Hylke.